So after the mysteriously yet thankful financial success of House of a Thousand Corpses, director Rob Zombie decided to start on his next project right away, which was The Devil's Rejects. And of course, it was greenlit right away after the financial success of House of a Thousand Corpses. Was it better? Was it good? What's up, everyone, and welcome back to my Rob Zombie film series review. I thank you so much, guys, for clicking here. I really do appreciate it. As stated, I will be reviewing every single one of Rob Zombie's full-length films, excluding his animated projects. Those won't be included. This series is going to focus on his full-length live-action films, leading up to his new one, The Munsters, which will be out at the end of next month. And if you have not watched my House of a Thousand Corpses review yet, link down below, check that out when you can. Released in 2005, The Devil's Rejects continues the story of the murderous backwoods Firefly family as they go on the run from a vengeful sheriff whose vendetta is nothing but personal. The Devil's Rejects, when I heard that was announced, and I heard that it was a sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses, I was nervous. I was so nervous. Now, guys, if you haven't viewed my House of a Thousand Corpses review, you'll understand why. I go on length of how much I hated that movie. I despised it. Of course, it was Rob Zombie's first outing, so maybe that's a little bit too cruel, but after watching it, I just couldn't grind my teeth. I just couldn't keep quiet. But, as fate would have it, I did have faith. I wasn't going to give up completely. There was times where when I heard of this movie's announcement, I wasn't even going to pay no mind. I was going to put it out of my mind and just let it pass me by. Thankfully, I didn't. I got my confidence. I got my faith back. Was it actually better? Did it improve in the slightest? Let's find out. Starting with the positives of The Devil's Rejects. I got to say, the look and feel was awesome. It was really great. It had a Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel. It was a lot more genuine. Unlike House of a Thousand Corpses, it was ultimately better. Just the way the movie looked, the way it was shot, you didn't get any of this bullshit cartoonish vibe that you got from House. You didn't get any of that dumbass stuff. You get genuine looking, non-cartoonish in The Devil's Rejects. And it was all the more better for it. I could tell that Rob Zombie poured, let's just say, redemption into this one. After the crap fest that was House of a Thousand Corpses, I would say that he learned his lesson, pretty much, for The Devil's Rejects. Because when you look at The Devil's Rejects compared to that other crappy film, way different. Way different. I think even Sheri Zombie actually said that she doesn't even consider this as a sequel, even though it clearly is. Because it involves the same family, the same backwoods family from that film. Like I said, Sheri Zombie doesn't even consider this as a sequel. She considers it as a continuation, but not a sequel. I kind of see why. I mean, this one was done better in every way. Like I said, I think Rob Zombie at this point, he pretty much learned from his mistake. And like I said in the review for House of a Thousand Corpses, even he regretted doing House of a Thousand Corpses. It just did not turn out the way he wanted. So even he regretted making that film. So with The Devil's Rejects, he right a lot of that wrong. And it definitely shows up in here, especially with the quality. Like I said, it has a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel because it expands. It's not just in one area like House was. You see like an expansion of this universe, of this world, where they actually travel out. They're not confined into one spot, which was a definite relief. There's no doubt about it. The Devil's Rejects definitely had a lot to make up for. And that it did. I just loved the whole TCM vibe, because it was still based in Texas. And you could tell it was set around the hottest time of the year. You can definitely tell that this movie was definitely inspired by that film, by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like I said, they dumped that whole dumbass cartoonish vibe that House had, and they just went with it. They just went all batshit crazy, but in a better way. And they pushed the envelope just a little bit, but it was all better for it. Before I go on, it just wasn't perfect, but it was loads better than House of a Thousand Corpses, that's for damn sure. And I'm pretty sure you can glean that by now in this part of the review. The characters was done way better. Much better handled. Much better written. Wasn't as useless or stupid. It was just better all around. Especially when it dealt with the family, with the Firefly family. They were better characterized. In House, they were much more confined. They didn't utilize them as much. They didn't utilize them characters at all. Like, at all. Especially with Sheri's character. She just could not act in that first movie. Of course, it was her first movie, but still. But in this, Sheri Zombie, it seemed like she improved. The Firefly family, they pretty much shined in this. You know, they were showing their true villainous self as they are intending to be. Like the scene between the three in the van when they were talking about ice cream and they wanting some ice cream and Bill Moseley was like, there's no ice cream in your future. And this and that, and Sid Haig and Sheri Zombie and Bill Moseley, it was just showing them all together. Just, it was like a happier moment between them three. And it was actually nice to see. They really utilized that a lot well in this. It just goes back to what I said about them being written much better in this film. Much, much, much better.
Tutti fucking fruity! Shut up! Tutti fucking fruity! Tutti fucking fruity! Shut up! Tutti fucking fruity!
Again, this movie showed a lot of redeeming qualities all around. Of course, you get the great Sid Haig. I have talked at length about this in my House of a Thousand Corpses review. He was the best part of that movie. You get more of him in this. And it's funny, when he first shows up, it's kind of like a porn scene. But it's meant to be funny, and that's definitely how it is. It's meant to be funny. He has like this dream sequence where he's, you know, going at it, and then she pulls a gun on him, and then he wakes up. You go on from there, but it was kind of a unique and interesting entrance to this character. But like I said, you get a lot more from him. You see him in a lot more of this movie than what you see like the 2 or 3 times in House. You get more characterization from him. You get more of who this guy was to the family, because like I said, in House, it didn't really show him that much. But you knew he was involved somehow with this family. But you get more of that. As I've said, he's awesome. He was even the best part of this movie too.
What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns? Why? Don't we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?
Rest in peace, man. Rest in peace. And even Sheri Zombie and Bill Moseley, you get more of, and you get more depth with their character. With Sheri Zombie, she was much better in this. Much better acting. She improved so much in Rejects. In House, she felt more confined. She just didn't, she seemed like this bimbo that was just crazy, but that's it. You don't really get much out of her in that film. But in this, again, with the redeeming quality, that's what you get. Sheri Zombie, she shined. I really did like her a lot better in this than in House. And Bill Moseley, I didn't really talk about him in House, but you would have got the same answer from everything else I talked about that. He just wasn't that good in that one, because none of the characters was handled good in that one. But in Rejects, again, he shined. He was like one of the characters, other than Sid Haig, that really stood out. I really did like this guy. I liked him as the villain. Like with Sheri and Haig, he nailed it in this. He was much more sadistic. He was much more callous. Like the one scene where he takes the 2 guys out to go get some guns that he had buried like a couple of years back. And just that whole scene where he stands over the one guy after he gets attacked, and he attacks them, and he starts welling on him and stuff. Woo! What a scene.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
And then you get William Forsythe, who plays the vengeful Sheriff Wydell. You know, the guy that's after them throughout this whole entire movie. This character is actually the brother of the one cop that was shot, that was killed in House of a Thousand Corpses. So this whole entire movie, he's got this personal vendetta against this family. He's just so hell-bent on taking this family down, and rightfully so too. He doesn't care what he has to do. He just goes above and beyond, and he's kind of like a Punisher type character. He's like the one character in this movie that this family really kind of should be afraid of. I mean, he showed such anger. William Forsythe, he was a force to be reckoned with in this movie, in The Devil's Rejects. He's like sort of the instant karma / Punisher type character to this family. He just goes batshit crazy in some of these scenes. That really did definitely add on to the positive to this film. It turns into this revenge type story, and I've told y'all many times how much I love plot devices of revenge type stories. I really did enjoy that aspect of this.
You want a piece of this, motherfucker? You want a piece of this? Huh? What you got?
You got this great opening scene where it has him in it. You know, he's commanding these cops, and he goes to the house of this Firefly family, and then he gets on that megaphone and is like, come out peacefully and we won't shoot. Of course, they start shooting up the place. It kind of turns into like an action movie in a way, like instantly. You get this great action sequence where everybody's shooting at everybody. When you're an action junkie like me and you like stuff like that, you definitely get that. It's just a definite good way to open it up. Just like the House of Thousand Corpses opening, you know, compared the two, it is different. But again, like I said with that film, with that robbery scene, I still love that robbery scene, don't get me wrong. The Devil's Rejects opening scene was awesome. Again, you need that scene that kind of like kickstart off. Like with House of a Thousand Corpses with that robbery scene, you get a good opening scene here too. And it was really good. The story was done much better. Basically, you have the Firefly family that you see in House of a Thousand Corpses, and they kind of get their just desserts, because they're being chased throughout this whole entire movie. It just turns into a wild ride. You know, like I said, they expanded on the level of tensity and just all-out universe of this franchise, and they just took it to another level in this. They kind of turned it into like a horror / drama / action movie, I guess you could say, because again, you get like some action sequences in this on top of horror. But it's much better translated. It was much better written. Like I said, he writes and directs about everything he does. Whenever it came to The Devil's Rejects, he definitely knew what he did wrong in House. He definitely righted that here. It's just a much more interesting story when it comes down to it compared to House. It kept me hooked right to the end of this film. Speaking of which, you get such a brilliant climax. So after you see Wydell, William Forsythe's character, captured the Firefly family, once that scene is complete, you get this very awesome road scene where they're driving down the road and they come across this roadblock by the cops. So what did they decide to do? They decided to take their guns out, load them up, you know, cock them back, and then they just floor it. And let's just say death by cops. I know there's probably a much better term for that, but that scene, oh my gosh, that scene was just so awesome, especially the first time when I watched this. Again, you get a climax that actually makes the movie worth it. And it just made this movie rewatchable for me, unlike House of a Thousand Corpses. This movie was just, it was 10 times better than House. I know, I'm sounding like a broken record, but I don't care. It was awesome. I mean, they just go out in a blaze of glory. What more do you want in a climax? Rejects was 10 times, no, 20 times better than House of a Thousand Corpses. But there's still those flaws. There's still those issues that I had with it. You know, they're not as big as House of a Thousand Corpses. That one will always triumph in probably the rest of the series. But Devil's Rejects still had its flaws. So let's drop into the negatives. The dialogue, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit in my House of Thousand Corpses review. The dialogue. Rob Zombie tends to go a little overboard when it comes to his dialogue. There's a scene where Bill Moseley's character was pressing against Priscilla Barnes' character when they had this band hostage at the hotel, which was the entire second act of the movie. And I just felt like he went overboard. Of course, I only have the unrated director's cut, because that's all they ever released. And I heard that some of that was actually cut down a little bit for the R-rated cut. And I kind of wish they would have released that. I know they have it available. I guess I'll just have to bite down and get the DVD or something at some point. It just felt like they went a little overboard. And there's this other scene where I call it the chicken scene, where this dude is talking about, and I'm trying to refrain from using language, but doing stuff to chickens and this and that, and it's just, really, dude, come on. You're not progressing the story at all. I mean, what's the point of these scenes? It's not really helping the movie that much. It's not really helping the story moving along. It just, if anything, it just kind of drags it down a little bit. What the hell is that about? It's just, come on, seriously. Your movie is just fine without all of that. That was just unnecessary, and it just didn't feel like it helped at all.
Well, I have thought about fucking some chicken before.
I never seen the appeal. I never seen the appeal to that. Again, like I said in my last review, if that was brought up to Rob Zombie, he just wouldn't give a crap. He's just one of those directors that when he sets out to make something, he does it. He does it. And again, much respect. For my final negative, there was some shaky cameras here and there, and I wasn't overboard like in most other movies, but there was some shaky cameras. Like when Wydell actually captures the Firefly clan, you see him in the car and he's like cheery and happy. He's like, oh, I got him, I got you. That kind of disturbed me a little bit. There was a deleted scene to where it was like more calmer. And there's more dialogue in that part of it. But they decided to replace it with that for some reason. But other than that, aces. But on a brighter note, I found The Devil's Rejects to be 10 times better than A House of Thousand Corpses. Compared to that film, The Devil's Rejects, you win. You definitely win. It definitely put my faith back into Rob Zombie as a filmmaker. And I guess it's true what they say. And of course, it's third's the charm, but second time's the charm, especially in this case. For Rob Zombie's second outing, not bad. Not bad at all. So if you can get past the uncomfortable dialogue, you will enjoy this for what it is, a happy accident. So The Devil's Rejects, were you a fan? Did you enjoy this entry a whole lot more than that other film? Or was this not for you? Leave me your comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thanks again, once again, guys, for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share the Big Four, and click that bell icon for more posts so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.